Here comes the best, the most well-rounded, best-smelling, nothing off-limits podcast in the world. Welcome to Quadcast with Kortney Olson, the woman with the world's deadliest thighs. Let's get ready to mumble!
What's up, y'all? We're back with another episode of Quadcast. Wank, wank, wank. Got my good friends here. Sal, National Man of Mystery.
one name like Madonna known.
We've got Randy Couture over here. Everybody, if you don't know Randy Couture, I don't know where the fuck you've been living. Well, obviously you know Dave. We need an introduction to Dave? No.
Another one namer.
We got Dave. Dave's going to be battling for Team UK, and the boys are going to be battling for Team USA. So I am the moderator, and of course we got Redbeard in the back here, because as you know, I get naked and punch people when I drink. So I'm going to live vicariously through these gentlemen, and Sal and I are going to be the good... Abstain. We are going to abstain from getting naked and taking our shirts off and dancing on top of the table.
He actually never promised that.
He
said he wasn't.
I just wasn't going to drink. I didn't say anything. I didn't say no to any of the other stuff.
He was like, "Damn it! I wore that tea back today."
Today's sponsor is the Four Branches, and we're gonna let Randy give us the background. Oh yeah, Randy give us the background.
Yeah, Four Branches Bourbon just launched 2 months ago. We're in 36 states.
Should be countries
in the U.S. If you go to fourbranches.com, you can order and they'll drop ship it to any of those states where the state itself doesn't control the liquor licenses.
Nice.
That's how that works. And then I think in some of those states where they do control the liquor licenses, we're working on getting into those states as well, but it's not as easy as just drop shipping it to somebody. So 4 tier 1 operators, Rick, RJ, Harold, and Mike founded this bourbon. It's made out of Bardstown. Steve Nally was with Maker's Mark for 40 years, and he's the master distiller that made this bourbon. Bardstown is a new addition. I was like, it's only been there 6 years to Bourbon Alley in Kentucky, and man, really impressive operation, state of the art. You know, it was a really cool tour and a really cool place, and that's where they're making this bourbon. Obviously, it has to be from Kentucky to be a bourbon. It's a give back brand, so as we get underway, we're going to start giving back to law enforcement, first responders, and military veteran organizations, because that's what we're all about. Right. And obviously, the 4 branches start and represent the 4 branches of the military. And everybody's like, "Oh, but there's 6 branches." Yeah, we left the Coast Guard and the Space Force out. Sorry, guys. 6 branches just didn't sound as impressive, I think. But that's 4 branches, and it's really good, actually.
And the logo.
Yeah. So the bottom is the Army. This is the foundation of armed services. This here is the mast on a submarine for the Navy. Obviously, the jets fly up into the sky, and then the tip of the spear is the Marine Corps, that blank space in between. So they kind of covered all
Notice
4
Randy
branches
looked at me with love when he said Marine Corps.
Can you
Not
guys...
that kind of love, buddy.
Just the right kind
it was
of love.
Army.
Lump for America.
There you go.
And envy because he was in the Army for the Marine Corps.
I just never developed that affinity for fucking crayons. It's just that simple.
I'm just Googling what the difference is between bourbon and whiskey.
It's aged in barrels.
Right.
Has to be aged in barrels, and it can't have more than 10% wheat in the mash.
Right.
Steve actually likes to put wheat in his mash because it shortens the burn a little bit, gives it a smoother finish. But it has to be within those parameters to be considered a bourbon, and it has to be barreled in Kentucky. To get a real port, it has to be from Portugal. It's one of those things. Right. Scotch, it has to be from Scotland. Wow. So.
Okay.
Are you hot over there? The light is just like directly on your
light is
face.
just directly on me, but okay. When do you hear me complain about anything?
Nothing,
I actually thought it was Dave's doing, putting that light on me just to try to get me to sweat. This way, when I don't start sweating verbally, at least I'll sweat physically, and I'll look every old cop movie, from
Put the light right on.
Yeah,
him.
right.
Now it's waterboarding. That's the new rage.
Light, yeah.
I'm gonna waterboard you. I'll take some home though.
Yes. I mean, I would
just
love
us.
to, believe me.
No, it's just us two, right?
3 of you ready?
Yeah.
Bry's
3,
gonna-
all right.
Bry's a bit of a connoisseur. Is there any special,
I don't think there's any
looks
ceremony or
no,
anything.
no? Okay. Just twist and pull?
Yep, just a cork.
I used to open up beer bottles with my teeth.
Oh boy.
It's nice to see that. It's nice to see that it's not actually a cork.
It's not actually a
No,
cork?
it's rubber. 'Cause
Rubber.
That amazes me.
The
that,
corks deteriorate,
Yeah.
especially in the drier weather. They
And they
deteriorate,
shut
and
the
then
environment too.
they'll.
And they also don't.
There's
hold the
that
flavour.
too.
Guys, it surprises me that you fucking Americans put corks in wine still.
Is
I'm
your
a big
warm-up?
fan of the twist off, frankly.
Right?
Goes right back in the fridge, really easy. Pass that over.
Thank you, sir.
Pass that one over.
Cheers.
Just tastes a little bit,
Sal?
Cheers.
I'll toast you with my water.
Here's to your service, brother. Appreciate
Here's to
you.
your service too, brother.
And
Thank
our motto at Four Branches is to drink honorably.
Love that.
That's going to be a big topic of conversation.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
That's really fucking nice.
Super
That is
smooth.
really
Yeah,
nice.
he did a great job. That guy's, he's a master distiller for a
Redbeard?
reason. He really did a nice job.
Redbeard approved. All right.
That's seriously smooth, eh? Well, all right. First American I met
Yeah.
was 30%. He was a taxi driver. Obviously, that's how you meet Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And he was 30% Italian, 25% Irish, 50% American, and 25% German. I'm like, mate, that's 2 people.
That doesn't add up right. Where's your twin? Where's he connected at? That's funny.
It's
But I'm
actually a true story.
25% Irish and 40% British. Is my
Get on this side
heritage.
of the
And
argument.
with a last name like Couture, I was a little surprised, frankly,
And
that
then-
my
and
pie
then a
chart
whole-
came out that way.
And then 100% American.
But that's a
top of that.
longer story. Yes, 100% American for sure. Born and raised in Seattle, Washington. Everett, Washington, actually.
No French in there. Because Couture
17% Western European.
Right.
Yeah, Couture is absolutely
Sounds
French.
doesn't it?
But Ed, the guy that was my dad, gave me his last name. That's all he gave me. He didn't give me any genetic material. So, and that heritage goes all the way back to France in the 1600s. I've seen that. My grandmother did all that research, and when she passed away, each of us kids got a notebook with all that in there. It was really cool. What an amazing
Yeah.
thing she did for all of us grandkids. But
That's really cool.
it was cool.
So where do we kick off? I mean, you were talking the other day about how you get up and
I work to beat the clock. I work to beat the alarm clock. Then after that, I jump out of bed. I do squats right off the bat, and then I alligator crawl to the bathroom, get up, do my thing, come back out, and then I get myself ready for the day.
Yeah.
So this way, it's my first victory of the day. So I beat the day.
How do British people wake up?
Cup of tea, innit? Cup of tea, a couple of slices of toast, probably. I don't know. Is it a competition on the how you get up thing?
No, I don't
No.
know.
Is that all you
I already
got?
won.
Just comparing and contrasting cultures is
Yeah,
all.
with-
Obviously, we're closely related. I mean,
Yeah.
we were a colony originally, and
Yeah.
start taxing the paper and the tea, and we said, "The hell with that, we're out."
Right.
One for us for waking up. We
Right.
wake up better than anyone.
Okay, I'll give you that. You wake up. The rest of
wake
it's
up
fucking
better.
downhill,
We wake
but,
up better.
we give you the wake-up call. Our tea's better than your coffee. Oh, no. Probably the hardest thing to come to terms with is that America's not the greatest country in the world. And that's, for me, I feel, and it's where the idea came from for this thing, is that I think that's actually quite a dangerous kind of concept, because you guys all think you're the best country in the world, and that there's a mindset that goes with that, I think leads you to believe there's no room for improvement. Like, it's not a continually improving society.
Yeah,
I feel like.
I think maybe 20 years ago I would have agreed with that statement that most Americans have a very arrogant opinion of our country and how great we are. And I think that's changed a lot in the last 20 years, frankly. And I think we have a lot of...
a little further than that.
Yeah, maybe a little further than that, honestly. But I think we have a lot of work to do, and I think we realize that we have some pretty serious problems in this country that need to be worked out pretty quickly here, or this republic is in serious trouble. I think that attitude that you're talking about comes from the Constitution that we and our Bill of Rights that we stand on, and you guys don't have freedom of speech in the UK. I mean, they're arresting people for posting shit on social media over there. Same thing in Australia. They're censoring us to hell here, but we still have at least the semblance of some free speech.
But we have a thing called hate speech. That's the only thing you can get arrested for.
Well, and okay, who's making that definition? Because just because I disagree with somebody's opinion, now you're going to say I'm spewing hate speech? That's horseshit. We don't have to agree to...
The definitions around hate speech are actually quite well defined, and that is like you can't be racist.
Sure.
But who deems those? Who makes those like benchmarks of what makes it, hate speech? Because the mere fact of the matter is this: a lot of times now, when people talk about freedom, like me and Randy are going to do, that could be deemed hate speech because we want to be free.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Yep.
It depends on who you're talking to and where they're sitting on that spectrum and what their goal is. There's a lot of socialists in this country now. They don't want to be free. They want to live off the government. They want the government to hand them crap and take care of everything for them. That's not freedom. That's where we're headed. That's why I say things have changed in the last couple decades, and I think a lot of people are waking up to that change and seeing the direction we're headed, and I don't think there's a lot of people that are very happy. There are some that seem to be happy about it, but a lot that aren't. And
sadly, I think you've pissed all over most of my argument already. So, but I think the idea of your guys' interpretation of socialism and that there are socialists in America, because I don't think there are any. Your Democratic Party is further right than our right-wing party. So we have Conservatives and Labour.
That's interesting. Like they would be insulted that you just said they were right because they think they're left.
They do, but they're not.
They're more right than in UK.
Yeah, so it's like they wouldn't.
That's an interesting thing, and that's something maybe we need to ferret out because I don't know what right and left means in the UK. I've never been involved in your judicial system or seen the way your system works.
And you know what is so funny? That, and a lot of people don't know this, that a big group of our founding fathers, like Washington and Hamilton, they also didn't believe in political parties. They thought that was going to be a downfall of our country eventually.
Yep, that's true.
It would create a natural divide, just like it had done everywhere.
Yeah.
So they were totally against it. But the only thing they were afraid. How would we put that into the Constitution to where, because if we are truly going to be a free country, like Washington was only going to actually serve the one term. The only reason why he served the second term, and they wanted him to keep continuing, and he stayed at 2, was to help hold the country together because we started to have that divide of political parties take place.
Yeah,
I think the one truly kind of democratic socialist, I mean, there's probably 2. AOC, which she's not incredibly popular, but they wouldn't let Bernie give you. I really think you had a chance at getting free healthcare for all with Bernie, and I think that would have been the most wonderful, magnificent thing this country had ever got. And I take your point about the philosophical thing that you guys don't like, handouts and stuff like that, but on the free healthcare thing.
Well, it's just been my experience. If we hand it to the government and let them management, it's going to go to shit in a real hurry. Look at the Canadian. Look at all the Canadian medical that's been socialist for a long time, and all those folks are coming down here to get their medical stuff done because the medicine in Canada sucks.
Yeah, and also the fact is, and look at what's going on in Canada. They're actually right now promoting suicide instead of giving people the right to life. But getting back to free medicine, all right. There was a time when medicine was affordable, and again, and one of the
what we need is transparency.
That's what we need. I was about to say we need transparency because at one time, prior to insurance companies getting involved, Because the thing is, one of the problems with being a free country is that it has a chance to become corrupted by certain, because we're capitalist, by other capitalist ventures. Mm-hmm. So at one point, medicine was truly cheap, and doctors used to actually come. I'm old enough to remember when doctors actually came to your house on a regular basis to check on you, and I remember that my parents used, and I literally remember my father going into his wallet and giving the doctor $20 a person for us, which was affordable at that time.
Your
But
doctor,
once insurance,
your doctor back in the day was a friend of the family. You knew him.
Yep.
And,
so I believe that the reason we don't have, well, at the time when we didn't have free health care, we made strides in medicine that would not have been made, under the auspices of government, controlling it. And think about that. That's also government control of. Look at what happened just over those 2 years that we suffered through, where government had some control over medical decisions that people were making, and where we were at during that time. So to me, again, free health care isn't the
I don't
panacea.
think they were making free healthcare decisions, were they? They were making policing decisions.
Yeah.
we
Oh,
went
yes.
awry after the Civil War. We were broke.
Right.
We were in serious financial trouble. And guess who financed both sides of that war? The same central banking systems that run everything on this planet now. Rothschild recognized that he could use his petroleum from Standard Oil in medicines. So he took over the pharmaceutical industry, so he continued to use petroleum products instead of naturopathic products and more of the Eastern medical model. He also founded the ADA so he could control the narrative. All in the same time. This is around the same time in the early 1900s when, what did they want to do? Create the Federal Reserve. So the four guys that opposed the Federal Reserve actually got on the Titanic. The Rothschilds turned around and walked off those docks. And by 2013, the Federal Reserve has been placed. This is how they've taken control of this
And also
entire
look at
country.
where,
and this
and I know
republic.
we're kind of getting
That's
back
all
onto
right. It's all right.
different thing. But to piggyback onto what Randy said, look at what they're saying is healthy now. They're saying that Fruity Pebbles and Fruit Loops,
Skittles.
Skittles are healthier than eggs.
That yellow number
supposed-
5 is really good shit.
You're supposed to be arguing for the United States.
Listen.
That's
I am
the-
okay.
the
and now,
FDA is saying
okay,
that.
Okay, and now I'm arguing for the.
Well,
I am
and-
arguing for the United
again-
States because why?
Because you
that
like
is-
Fruity Pebbles?
No, I'm arguing for the United because I like steak. You know that.
I do.
So I'm arguing for the United States because I believe that we're starting to move to a spot to where we are not the United States anymore, where we are starting to become a
Tell me about the UK leaving EU and Brexit. I mean, did you agree with that or not?
No, people shouldn't be allowed to vote in my world. That's a joke. But it's like the people who are not informed were the ones that voted for it. Because you see, I didn't understand it at the time. Because I was like, it's like Turkey's voting for Christmas leaving the EU, really, economically, and it's fucked us. But
I was always curious because I
people-
knew that was going on, but I've never actually talked to anybody from the UK that was informed and had an opinion one way or the other. And I've talked to other people in the EU, and they hate the EU.
Yeah.
I was in Czech Republic working, and a bunch of the people there were like, "I mean, I can't buy milk from my local farmer. I have to buy milk from Poland.
Yeah.
They won't let me buy it from the local. I mean, the EU is controlling all of that and telling everybody where they have to buy their.
There's
their
a lot
stuff
wrong
from.
with it. There's a lot wrong with the EU. It's over. I mean, like the thing that I think you wouldn't like about it is that it is over bureaucratized.
Which is the problem with any government or big government for sure.
But the vote to leave the EU, which I didn't
Put that out
realise.
of your reach.
I didn't realise for like 2 years after, was in a lot of ways like the vote for Trump. So it wasn't necessarily that people wanted. This is my opinion. Mm-hmm. It wasn't necessarily that people wanted to leave Europe or that people necessarily wanted Donald Trump as president. What they wanted was a change from the past. What they want in America, they wanted somebody who didn't represent.
One sniff of the bourbon and the shirt comes off, huh?
Give it half an hour and we'll be punching people. Because I think the anti-establishment thing, wasn't it? Like
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And people,
anti-establishment.
It was. They didn't want to be told where they had to go to do the stuff they want to do, and in
and a
some
lot
ways
of
they were
working-
fighting back. In
a lot of
other
working
ways.
class people in the UK we're just fed up with politicians making them fucking promises. Like, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Never see a change. And they're just like, this is a change I can influence.
Well, that might be
the
something
thing
we
is-
have in common, because
well,
I think the
thing-
Americans
thing
are a
is
little
this,
sick and tired of that crap,
technically,
too.
Politicians really shouldn't even exist. That shouldn't even be a job, because that was, in the course of the United States, that wasn't even the intention of how politics
It was never
supposed
meant to
work.
be a profession.
It was never
meant to be a
profession.
service.
You were supposed to serve, leave.
You do
serve,
your terms.
leave.
And we've got,
that's-
50-year politicians that we don't
Okay.
have two parties.
All right,
We have a
which is-
uniparty.
and,
They're
you
just
know-
taking turns leading the circus.
And this is the thing, like, and as Randy said, the uniparty. We talked about it at dinner the other night. How, I look at the left half of the country is the right triangle, and left half of the country is a triangle, right half triangle. And when you put them together, everybody on the base is about as far away from things as possible. But as you go higher on that pyramid or in that triangle, the closer,
You get to the top, the
you get
more
to the
aligned
top, the
they
more
are.
aligned they are, because they have a certain, they have an elite agenda, that probably doesn't coincide with what I want,
Yeah.
doesn't probably coincide with what you want,
Yeah.
and so on. Because and the thing is, even because parties really mean nothing, because there so much talk about. Let's just take the example of the 87,000 IRS people. All right? That was one of the things the Republicans said they were going to get rid of once they took over. All right, did that go away? Has anybody really been pushing to make that go away? No. So the thing is, once they become elitists, and once they start seeing what their goals are, I think a lot of their personal goals of propelling themselves, that's why they stay in government so long. We don't truly have statesmen anymore. I mean, we don't have statesmen, here and or England. And I actually believe that our argument that we're supposed to be having in terms of what the difference between England and America really is an argument about that. It should be an argument of the one worlder type mentality,
there you go.
and a nationalist mentality. And you have, and even beyond what you wanted, you have a nationalist mentality, because you chose that, hey, I'm gonna side with England right now on this argument, and we chose, of course, to speak on the behalf of the United States. But in turn, what we both probably don't want, and what we think, why we think that our country is so great, for me, is because of the freedoms that we used to offer, the promise of freedom that we offered. And that's why, and one of the statements that you made earlier on was that, that there's no room for growth. Well, see, I believe that America is the greatest country in the world because there is room for growth, because anybody can come from nothing to become something. And yet, as time is going on, because we are moving to that that socialist ideal, that what is starting to happen is that is suppressing that ideal of being able to do whatever we want, become whatever we want.
I think in some ways, you and I, your country and our country, is in the same issue. We're all headed in the same direction. One world government, one world currency. The UN is going to be the regulatory body of that. And anybody that doesn't comply is going to get their dick knocked in the dirt.
I'm not sure we're fucking organised enough to join a one world government. We can't make the train.
They're gonna make that happen,
But
whether
the thing
you
is,
want to
we're
do
not-
it or not.
We're not.
Somebody
That's what they.
talk some sense into Dave, because I talk about this all the time, and he thinks that it's not possible.
We'll come back to the one world government in a second. But when we were stupidly talking about doing this, what I thought was it was a good chance to talk about what's great about both countries and some things we could potentially learn from each other. And I want to go back to that idea of free healthcare being such a fucking awful idea, because it's really not. America has, of the 36 richest
Somebody's
countries,
paying. It's not free,
Yeah,
brother.
but you guys-
I've been to Scandinavia. That shit's not free.
it's not
Somebody's
free.
paying for that shit.
Yeah, but you guys pay twice as much.
That's because
per
there's no
person.
transparency. Big Pharma controls the show.
And
There's a
insurance
sliding
companies.
scale, but it depends on
Big
who's
pharma
asking.
and insurance companies are involved in that, so
Where-
that has ruined. So that has ruined the idea of any kind of free. And at the same time, anything that comes for free is not usually.
There's no such
It's
thing.
not-
Somebody's
It's
paying.
not. Nobody thinks it's free, right? First off, because you'll pay it through your tax. The issue is that the two best bodies in the history of politics, Ronald and Margaret, who were ideological soulmates, fucked a lot of things up. But the point here is the biggest kind of challenge. America's a great country. My beautiful wife.
And I think the UK is a great country. I've been there a lot.
Yeah. The challenge I have is as a country, you don't seem to care. Not you guys around, not us around the table, but you don't seem to care about the bottom third, who can't. They can't be anything they want. Like there's higher rates.
There's a lot of examples of plenty of people that came from that bottom third that went places.
So I look at
that.
And
I understand what you mean, and maybe there's a certain percentage of the population that doesn't care about anybody else; is just out for themselves. But I think most of us that have managed to have some semblance of success want to. High tide raises all ships. I want to help others. Yeah. I came from. And shit, also, frankly, and managed to get through. I want to see other guys that came from the same shit I came through get through too.
And coming from our background, the mere fact of the matter is this: right off the bat, we're service-oriented people. Randy joined the service. I joined the service. My current job, is something that I do to do what? To help and help others. Sometimes it doesn't look like that because of perceptual and context. But the fact of the matter is this. If we were not free and didn't think that the country was great and that everybody has a potential to do something, because I believe that they do. I believe that individual rights, and if we push individual rights over the social agenda, then every individual does have equality, not equity, where we're not giving anybody anything, and you're basically taking what things that you want based on how much work you put in. All right, Randy, world champion.
None of this is a criticism of you two personally.
No.
When I say you guys,
we're speaking in general terms here.
I'm speaking in general terms in terms of what I believe the true American attitude is.
But the vets on the street, right? You see them in North Las Vegas, right? Like, surely they should be entitled to something.
They should be getting loads of things. Anybody who, all right. And it's going to sound kind of crazy. You guys have ever seen that? Well, I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's the one with Starship Troopers. All right?
Yeah.
Starship Troopers. Now, in a way, that a big chunk of that movie was kind of socialist. But one of the things that they did right in that movie was that you only were a citizen if you served. All right? And to me, that's another huge thing in terms of our freedoms, because we haven't even got into gun control or anything like that.
Oh, we get it.
Well, which we are going to get there. But the thing is this, and it's funny because you're from England. All right, I don't want to be a subject to anything. All right, what makes me a citizen of this country is my ability to defend myself and own weapons. Because, again, going back to our forefathers, what was the thing that they wanted? They wanted government, which is total opposite of what it is now. They wanted government to fear us, so this way. Because we were born from revolution, and yet we are not in that mode now. Government has gotten so big that they think that we have to serve them, and and I know in England that loads of people like to be called subjects, all right, because that was what was ingrained.
They were all the ones who fucking voted to leave the EU.
Yep. So my point being is, again, I don't want to be a subject. I want to be a citizen. I want to be free.
What does the monarchy mean to you as
they should
a
all
person
be
from the
gassed
UK?
like badgers. It's an awful. The monarchy is an awful thing. So
It's
you've got me on that.
Literally just a figurehead at this point.
Yeah.
And you have a prime minister.
They have
and
no
you have
role.
all the working pieces of government.
They have no role.
Other than to serve what, tourism?
Apparently they help with tourism, but it's actually not true. And Prince Charles just gave himself a pay rise from £86 million a year to £120 million a year.
That comes from taxes.
Which is paid for by the people
That had
of
to
the country.
rub some folks wrong.
Yeah.
There's
a growing Republican
our beautiful
movement.
government employees just did the same thing when these guys took office too. Went from 174 to 196,000.
I think worldwide.
Yet they're all billionaires. At least 50 of them are billionaires. Tell me how that happens.
Right.
I think worldwide, when we were looking at COVID, when the politicians were saying stay indoors and they were all still getting full pay.
Yeah.
And doing whatever they
Mr.
wanted.
Newsom up at French Laundry with his
Yeah.
16 people dinner, and
Yeah.
everybody else is wearing a mask and locked down. Yeah, there's the double standard.
But I think that
exactly.
the thing that I don't really understand, because as human beings, Americans are very caring, but then you introduce the concept of a society that cares, And you're all like, no, it's government. That's government controlling things. And I don't, like, you guys have the highest rate of poverty. Like, you're like above Mali and below Burkina Faso.
And why is that? I'm gonna say my part on that.
Okay, but I think some of them, and it's difficult to determine who, right? But I think some of them deserve to be looked after. And we could start with veterans.
Lots
right?
of people need a hand up, and
Lots
that's
of
my
people need a hand
foundation.
up. I believe,
and this
Yeah.
bourbon is
Listen.
absolutely directed towards veterans. In my opinion, it's bullshit that there's 55,000 homeless veterans
Yeah.
that served and took that oath in this country. That's
horrible, isn't it?
unacceptable.
The same
Yet
in
our
my- same
southern
in
border
my-
is wide open,
same
and
in
you
my
want to give
country.
that
Right.
Same
person
in
a phone and a place to sleep, but all our vets that fought for this country are sleeping
Yeah.
on the street.
It's
That's
not right.
horseshit.
It's
Dave,
not
I'm
right.
going to give you my take
Sure,
on
man.
how I look at even like world politics and just politics. I look at it as if the country is my house. All right. So imagine my house is the United States. All right. Your house is the UK. All right. Now, how would I want how I want the government or how I want the United States run is this. All right. In my house, I have an uncle that served in the service. He's going to come live with me. I'm going to work to take care of him. I'm going to do the things that are necessary for him to prosper because he helped my house,
Yep.
per se. All right? Now, this is, in terms of immigration, all right? If you break into my house and you want to sleep on my couch and I'm kicking my uncle out, not taking care of him, taking care of somebody else, in place of him, all right, when they come illegally, all right. But if you look at it from that perspective of who we're taking care of, all right, the United States is not doing what the United States should do. We're not the greatest country when it comes to that because somebody who's already given, right now, somebody's already given of themselves and served, we're not taking care of. But yet people who are coming here hope, and by no fault of their own, they want to make a better life for themselves. I'm first generation Italian, right? My parents were right off the boat, both of them. Yeah. So I understand that wanting to come here, but at the same time, there's legal means, and we are allowing things to happen that should not be happening, and then in turn, it actually takes away from everybody. All right, in the push for immigration that we have right now, illegal immigration right now that they're allowing, are those people really getting helped? Are they getting things? Because whenever we give somebody a handout, all right, eventually, what happens? All right, nothing. All right, that person doesn't have any incentive to push themselves or anything like that because I know I'm going to get something. And then what happens? Then I want to start taking advantage of a situation even more. Then, in turn, look at our veterans, which we keep on getting back to because of our beautiful sponsor and because we both served. We're not taking care of them. So again, America is falling short of that because we're not doing right by them. And then also,
we've got direct experience of what happens when you stop that though. We voted to leave the European Union because people were coming over illegally and taking our jobs and taking advantage of the welfare state system, which is far more generous than your system. If you think they're giving too much now, you should see what we give them. And what happened when we kicked them all out was there's nobody to do the jobs that the English people, and I'd venture to say the American people, they wouldn't want to do those jobs.
And
they don't want to be cleaning.
Now you're
having-
talking about migrant farmers and some of
Yeah.
those folks that come across that do all that.
now
that.
having said
cleaning
that,
hospitals and
okay,
all that
now
stuff.
getting back to my household then.
Okay.
Getting back to my household.
Yeah.
So now, again, all right, how generous am I going to be? All right, now you want to come to work, and you apply for a job at my house. My house is a corporation now. You would apply for a job at my house. All right, then now I'm going to pay you for what things you do, gardening, cleaning my house, whatever things, the jobs that you say nobody else wanted,
Yeah.
or nobody else wants to do.
Yeah.
So I'm not even worried about jobs being taken. What I'm looking at, how I'm looking at things like that is like, are you doing something for nothing, and are we pushing somebody else out of the picture, being our veterans, and replacing them?
I get that.
So that's how I'm looking at it, and from that perspective of my household. Also, the thing is, how much money do I have coming into my household? How, like, so if I ran my house the way the government runs, if I ran my home budget the way the government runs their home budget, I would be one of those homeless people sleeping out on the street.
You'd have been bankrupt a long time
I'd been bankrupt a long time ago. So having said that, that's how I look at everything from my individual.
What's the deficit look like in the UK? You guys can't be flush.
No,
You're not balancing a checkbook either.
I'm just going to mention free healthcare once, and then we'll get on to guns. But if I could quantitatively, like without question, our health system up until about 5 years ago, because it's been fucked by the fiscal conservatives, but for 70 years, our health system was way better than yours, and it was half the price of yours. And yet, what I don't understand is the philosophical aversion to providing healthcare for your citizens. I don't understand why you don't like the idea.
This is because I look at it as a slippery slope, to where once we give government...
You start giving people the dole, they expect the dole.
And then not just that, but once we give government control over...
You stop making sense.
Well, and once we give government control over what things, because again, we talked about Canada a little bit, earlier on when we were on that topic. Once we start giving government too much of a role in our health care, where they start making decisions on what medicines to make, who gets the medicine, how that medicine is going to be used. Well, but there is a role, right, which our government plays, which yours doesn't, which is regulating.
No, I think we do. I think we have social programs, and we have free clinics all over the place.
But our government regulates the price of drugs.
Lower income people can go to these clinics and get taken care of, and it's very, very. But again, there's no transparency in the industry.
What I think what you could do with, if I may be so bold, is an element. That's just an English thing. Of I'm going to fucking say it anyway. But our government in England and also in Australia, coincidentally, regulates the price that drug companies can charge for drugs. So we pay about 1/10 of what you pay for the same product.
Yeah,
because Reagan took away the cap on
lends itself to that transparency, and that was something that when Trump was in office, he was trying to create.
Yeah.
And create some transparency.
Again,
another reason why they don't like him, because the people that actually control shit don't want an outlier, some guy that's not part of the system, the good old boy system that it's become. Yeah. Because he's trying to do things they don't like that are going to hurt their bottom line. Frankly.
I believe that the web that was created between insurance companies, the pharmaceuticals, and government, again, right? And government, that what a tangled web we weave. All right, and how does that end? Because they want to deceive, and that's what has been going on. Because just like Randy's saying about transparency, there is no transparency. Look at, and again, I'm big on what the free market is, but at the same token, if something is going to cost, let's just say again, in terms of wholesale prices, I'm going to make it costs me $1. Yeah. All right, I shouldn't be looking to
charge $1,000.
6 years ago, Bernie Sanders actually had a bipartisan bill pass. It was within 8 votes, which would have made competitive pricing for pharmaceuticals. Mm-hmm. And it was actually 8 Democrats who voted it down. He had the Republican support he needed to get it passed. And it was everybody from New Jersey, Cory Booker, anybody who had ties, because that's where all the farmers.
What was their personal interest?
And again, it was everybody with pharmaceutical companies in there.
And the thing is, and I really wish that we would go back to a simpler time. Because I pretty much, I feel like I was born at the wrong time, because I'm so locked into the time of like World War II and the honor of certain things, and there's always going to be some kind of duplicity somewhere within the confines of government. But when we talk about a people, all right, I look at the greatest generation as the ideal of what I really wish we would go back to.
Yeah. Same with my country as well. Because we come out of the Second World War, and we brought in the health service, we brought in free education. and it didn't bankrupt the country. I mean, I'm not saying that you have to do that. It's just we came out of the Second World War with a good intention to make the world a better place, and now it's all.
I don't
just
believe that
fucking-
we have that intention anymore.
No,
I
we
believe,
don't.
Yeah, when did it go wrong?
I believe that so many people that are within confines of government, because I believe in individual achievement, but I also believe that there are individual people that take advantage of individual achievement by corrupting things that they're supposed to be doing in terms of service. Because again, I said earlier, there's no statesman anymore. Everybody has their own agenda that they want to push. And it's few and far between. Like if you watch the way committees work now, like because now everything on C-SPAN or how they debate anything. All right, I'm going to give Randy, you're going to only have 5 minutes to talk, and you're only allowed to say things within the confines of this. All right, instead of having a true conversation. I believe that that is why we don't accomplish anything. All right, because they have set forth rules. Think about, like, again, getting back to the revolutionary times. All right, the raucous debates that they would have, and they would. Matter of fact, Randy and I should have been, should be politicians, because you'd be able to fight on the floor of Congress back then.
Damn, sign me up.
Right? To push an agenda, and again,
I think every one of those politicians needs to wear a shirt just like NASCAR with everyone that's sponsored.
Everybody that's
And we know
sponsored.
exactly why they're passing the bills they're
Yep.
passing, because
Everybody that's sponsored.
they're getting
And-
funneled money
and
and
think
doing
about-
things for those folks that support
And think about the
their
way we
campaigns.
the way
that
they,
bullshit's got to
when-
stop.
When they sponsor a bill, all right, the famous quote from Nancy Pelosi was, all right, we've got to vote on the bill to know what's in the bill. When they have a 22,000-page
They don't read
document,
that crap.
and they don't read it, they don't, and that's my point.
And they
'cause
intentionally bury shit in there.
because they intentionally bury stuff in there. So whatever agendas that they want to put forth, all right, of something that doesn't even have to do with something else. So I believe that, again, the ideal of what the United States is what makes the United States the greatest country there is. The ideal of, coming from nothing, going to something. Also, the idea of service, helping. A lot of people look at history through the lens of whatever is fashionable today, instead of what was going on at that time. Because their belief system in an earlier time was not the belief system that we have now, based on whatever agendas are being pushed, whatever things are going on. So a lot of times, like, they look at what happened during COVID, during George Floyd, to where we were trying to erase history by destroying statues and things like that. And so many of those people don't even know anything about, the individual people that that they were tearing statues down on. All right. Like, I think that they actually tore a statue of Cassius Clay down during that time. And when I say Cassius Clay, I don't mean Muhammad Ali, because so many people are ignorant to who Cassius Clay actually was. Cassius Clay was an anti-slave. It was somebody that was an abolitionist. He wanted to abolish slavery. And again, I'm going to give somebody a plug, a guy named the Fat Electrician. Go to YouTube, watch him, and watch the story of Cassius Clay. He looks at different people in history, and he puts his own little flair on it, but he talks about what things they did that make them great people. And I believe that when we erase who somebody is or who those people are in the past, we no longer have an ideal to try to meet, to try to exceed. They always try to find something negative about somebody that's a hero of the past, somebody who did something that was great to propel this country and or anybody else into that position of greatness. Because when is the last time you heard the word hero associated with anyone, like any military guy, as of within the recent past? And again, to me, I look at the United States being the greatest country because we had that kind of history. As a matter of fact, I'll even say the UK, because the unit that I was with, I served. We used to have the SAS and SBS come, and those guys were some of the toughest, greatest dudes I ever met. In terms of producing honor, allegiance, discipline, And we don't have that kind of push now. If you look at what they're doing, and again, I can't say that the United States is the greatest place there is right now because of the road that I see that we're on. Because look at what they're doing to the military currently. And I don't have any problem with what anybody wants to do in their individual lives. But being a military man, there's a certain level of military discipline and a certain level of cohesion and unity that has to come from not being an individual and having a common goal. Yeah. And that level of discipline is lost when in what we're doing right now. All right,
turning our military forces into a social experiment,
and I also feel
a social experiment.
Yeah, and I also feel bad for those people that all right. And I'm going to say this, and somebody's going to have a heart attack. And I don't care. All right, I feel bad for the transgender people that we have in there because they're using them again for a social experiment. And are they actually going to be bettered? All right, would they be best served on the front line? Because the bottom line, and again, I'm a pragmatist when it comes to things. All right, and when it comes to my military and I look at what is their mission. All right, and we can't water that down. What the job of the military is when they need to go defend our country, any military, I don't care, whenever a military has to defend their country, their job is to go be the deadliest things that they can be, to be the most efficient fighting force that there is. And somebody explained to me how me having transgender shows, in the military, how that makes unit cohesion and how it creates a level of discipline, all right? Because the fact is, if I could do whatever the hell I want, whenever I want, I'm not disciplined, all right?
Yeah, it's not a place for individuality.
Yeah, no, because it's not made for that. Because the thing is, I need to know what Randy's going to do at any given time.
You set standards for and expectations for performance in the heat of combat.
Yep.
And now you're creating a gray area that we no longer know how effective our armed forces are going to be, because we've created a social experiment out of it.
And at the same token, if you look,
that's not my fault.
No,
that's not. The English didn't do that.
That's not not English. But and the thing is, like we're going off onto these tangents because to defend. But the thing is, it's because we're defending what makes America the greatest country, and what the greatest country is the promise of what we were to make it to where like everybody keeps on referring to, like the past of, we didn't have such a great past. We weren't great. We weren't too. All right, if we weren't, right now we would everybody would either be speaking German or some other some other language. We would have already been oppressed.
We'd have appreciated you joining a couple of years earlier, though.
Listen, and again,
Sure.
that was because there's certain agendas that were being pushed even at that time. But if I would tell Randy, listen, I need you to climb up that mountain.
Why do you think Pearl Harbor happened?
I don't know.
To drag us into the war.
Yeah. And
right. Yeah, I know.
They wanted us. Churchill wanted us in the war. Needed us in the war. You guys were in serious trouble.
We were fucking losing.
We were in serious trouble. Yeah. I understand.
To the same degree as you kind of admitting that maybe America's not the greatest place as it was in the past.
There's no newsroom. Was that what was that TV series that was on HBO for a while, and they had
I know I'm not a TV watching.
William Hurt on it. It was called, I think it was called The Newsroom.
Newsroom.
And it was a speech.
I saw that.
Well, and that gal stands up and says, "Well, tell me, what makes United States of America the great." And his response to that was spot on.
Yeah.
That was one of the most poignant moments in TV I've seen in a long, long time.
You guys have and girls have an amazing fucking country, and I just hope
and we're pissing it away.
I
frankly.
hope for better. To be honest, I hope for better for you than the trajectory you're on. That's all. Like my country's fucked. We've fucked it all.
I know, because you can't even walk.
Don't start.
Walk down. You can't even buy a knife at the store to bring to your house without being regulated. I mean,
how terrible is that? How terrible is that, man?
That's insanity. I can't even buy a kitchen knife. I can't even buy a steak knife.
You guys have more people shot a month.
Where?
No. I've got to say it. Let me
But
say it.
yeah, you eliminate 5
that's-
cities, and guess what?
Yeah, but
Every
that's-
one of those cities is all democratically run.
But
You
that's half
eliminate
your
those 5
country.
cities, and we drop to 75th on that
No,
list.
100, we drop into the hundreds.
But
on
you
that
can't
list, actually.
you can't leave out half your population and say we don't have a problem. Can
It's
you?
not, it's
I
not
mean-
half our
I mean,
population.
Texas does lead the country in gun deaths, though. I mean, the state of Texas does.
Go ahead and break into a house and play them.
But that's what I'm saying.
I mean, how that turns out for you. Because every house has a gun.
So-
My thing is, like, I'm not anti-gun by any means, but I mean, let's be real.
How about we
I have
enforce?
at
How about
least
we
a
enforce
dozen
the
friends
laws
on
we have in
Facebook.
place now?
I have a
Keep
dozen friends on Facebook.
Keep the
that I'm
database
not
up
comfortable
to
with owning
speed.
guns.
How many
and
gun
up to-
laws?
and current.
How many gun laws? Go to your Chat GPT, pull up every gun law that there is. How many are there?
Oh, I'm sure.
All right.
that-
So right off the bat, if you look at it, loads of gun laws ain't going to do anything. The thing is, what we need to get back to, and again, I don't even think it's a gun issue. I think it's a societal issue when we
It's
talk.
both, man. It's both. If you don't have them, you don't have it.
Okay.
Like, we don't have the gun crime. Yeah, there's stabbings. Yeah, there's violence, but not to the level you guys have got.
Getting back to what I was about
And
to
look
say.
what the government did in Australia during the lockdowns, dragging people off their front porches. You think
Putting
that
them-
happened if they had had guns still? They turned all their guns in '96.
Mate, Australia's-
government went way overboard.
Well,
So
yeah, but it's a happy place. It's a safe place. And sure, maybe it wasn't happy during, that particular porch. But in general, like Court will tell you, you walk down any street,
I've been down there a lot.
anytime.
I've been down there a lot.
Now, getting back to, what was our country, the United States, built on?
But you can't.
Well,
No, I want to go back to your point, which is gun laws aren't going to help. Laws don't help.
Gun laws are
Laws
gonna
don't help.
Enforce the ones we have. We
Enforce
don't
the
need
ones
any
we have.
new
That's
ones.
what I said.
They're not
We don't
enforcing
need to
the
have
ones we have
thousands,
on the books now.
And having said that, also,
They don't keep-
if we continued on where we built a cultural belief of honor, doing the right thing, it wouldn't matter how many guns or how many swords or how many anything. All right, if we push the idea, because right now they're decriminalizing so many things. All right, look at what's going. Look at bail reform in New York, bail reform in L.A., bail reform in Chicago, bail reform in Massachusetts. If you look at all the things that they are allowing to happen, to where I could stab you right now. All right, if I was in New York, I could stab you right now, and in 1 hour I'll be back on the street. All right, is that right? And the thing, because the thing is, once we have not enforced the law, that law no longer becomes anything.
Right.
It becomes invalid. So when there were gun laws put in place that were, and I don't even believe that there is such a thing as common sense gun law. I actually believe that if we gave people, if we continued on a course to where we believed in honor, discipline, doing the right thing, and we punished people right off the bat for crime and based on whatever level of crime they did. Look how many people are on death row right now, and how many people say, death penalty isn't a deterrent. It's not supposed to be a deterrent. It was supposed to be a punishment. So to take that person off the street, so this way they wouldn't be able to do something again. And how would we know that it's not a deterrent if we're not on a regular basis of doing things? All right, let's go back to the Western days. If somebody stole a horse, they would be hung, and they would run from that because they knew there was a consequence to their actions. And I think that's the other thing that we're moving away from, that there's no consequence for doing the wrong thing.
How many thieves are in the Middle East?
Yep.
Not too many, because they know they're going to get their hand cut off if they get caught.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've gone way past the point.
We just ran the U.S. into the ground
No, mate.
for the last 30 minutes.
You just need to keep pipe down, mister, because you're not fucking helping me. But I think you've gone way past the point where you can take guns off people, because there's just too many in
You can't.
circulation.
We have over.
But it's also too easy to get a gun. It
Okay,
really is.
It's
too
not
easy
that
to get a
easy.
gun.
Okay, okay.
not that easy.
How is it too easy?
You walk into Walmart and pick one up.
No, you can't.
You can just pick. Dave, your wife has guns. She purchased a gun. All right, when you purchased a gun,
He
you just
purchased it.
All right,
No, I
it's okay.
purchased it.
Did you walk into Walmart and just get a gun, or did
Bought
you
it
fill
online.
out?
I bought it online with no paperwork. It's just you buy
Where
it-
was this?
I don't know. Gun store. I don't know. We didn't go and buy it. Just they sent it to us.
That is insane to me because I know
No.
I know no.
Somebody broke the law.
No, we had to
Somebody
go.
broke the law to do that. So
We had
it
to
goes
go-
right back to my point where somebody's going to break.
Because
No, we
they're
had
not
to go-
enforcing the laws we have for gun control
We had to go pick
on
it
the
up,
books
didn't we?
now.
Yeah.
We had to go pick it up and show ID.
He's drunk.
No, I'm not. I just it was
Yeah,
before.
it
It was
could
be.
be.
Hey, because I can't see that you guys went somewhere and even where somebody
Things are going to
just
get real clear now.
because you can't send a gun in the mail.
No, we had to go pick it up from the store.
Okay.
Used to be able to.
That said,
At
though,
one
You could
point-
order, you could order a rifle from Sears and Roebuck.
Some Sears and Roebuck, and,
Yep.
and then again,
1918.
Why did that change? But again, because people didn't abide by the things that they were doing.
I can read that. I
At that
posted
time.
this
I
a
don't
while
think you
back,
can
if I
rely on
find it.
honor to solve gun crime.
What's that?
Now,
There's
it's-
no way to There's no way to solve gun crime. There's only because it's not a gun
Bad guy
crime.
wants to kill you, he's
not.
gonna
It's
kill
not
you.
because it's not a gun crime. It is a human crime. All right. Because the thing is this. Let's just say we were able to abolish every gun there is.
So here we go.
And if I wanted to anyway, let me finish making this
Go
one
ahead.
point real quick. All right. Let's say we had no guns for whatever reason. There was no guns. Somebody would find a gun. Somebody would find a knife. Somebody would find some other means of doing anything. So. I teach a
that's
class.
not true. That's
I
not
te-
true.
You don't
absolutely
believe
true.
that people would
You
find
don't
another
have people
means?
getting stabbed in
Okay.
your country because nobody
Yeah.
has guns. If they want to
somebody was
kill you,
intent-
they're going to
if
find a way
somebody
to
was
kill you.
But
intent
look
on-
at the numbers. The
if
number of
somebody-
people getting stabbed to death in the last 130 years is less.
And how
than the
much has that gone
Okay,
up in the
all right,
in the
so who-
recent
okay,
decades because
okay,
of the
in
immigration
the United States,
from the
what
Middle East and
tool?
all the other stuff
okay,
that's going on there.
Okay, in the
Because-
United. Right now in the United States, what
Yeah,
tool?
all right.
All right, what kills more people, hammers or guns?
Guns.
Look it up.
Hammers.
Hammers. Look it up.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Look it up. Hammers
These
kill.
people are so skewed on these stats for gun control
All right,
and guns.
and also to get back.
115 years ago in 1907, our great-grandparents were first able to buy a rifle pictured in this right here, semi-automatic.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to talk about assault weapons,
Yeah.
ARs. That's not what AR means. It means Armalite.
Armalite.
It's ridiculous. They get the craziest people to stand up and talk about gun control.
When
and they
people-
don't know what they're even talking about. It's insane to me. This Winchester model 1907, this gun could buy from Sears catalog and have it delivered via the U.S. Post Office to your house. Semi-automatic, high-powered center rifle, detachable, high-capacity magazine. About 400,000 semi-automatic rifles were produced before World War II. Civilians had hundreds of thousands of these for 40 years, while U.S. soldiers were still being issued the old-fashioned bolt-action rifle. 1907 fired just as fast as an AR-15 or an AK-47, and the bullet, a .351 Winchester, was actually larger than those fired by the most modern-looking weapons. Only a functional difference between 1907 and the controversial feared AR-15 is modern black plastic stock. That's the only difference between that rifle right there,
Right.
that you could literally order through the
Functional.
mail, and the feared AR-15 or AK-47. The semi-automatic so-called assault rifle is 110 years old, isn't new in any way. The semi-automatic rifle was not a weapon of war. The government made it a weapon of war 40 years after civilians had them. So where were all the shootings and all the crap going on back then? What changed?
Right.
And that's and the thing is, and that's where I'm going with it. The fact is,
That's the
all right,
point
again,
well made.
and if they
Want to fix the horror of mass shootings? Fix the things we have changed in those last 50 years. Family values, prayer from schools, the 10 Commandments from courthouses, spanking kids, morals,
Spanking
what is socially acceptable, confusion on gender, left-wing liberalism and socialism. You fix that
Medication-
shit?
Oh,
I want to
medication.
just pick you up on that last point, Randy, because there is because I see this a lot. There's actually no socialism at all anywhere in this country, and that's fact. There's no socialism. There's no socialists, as far as I can see, except Bernie Sanders. There's nobody in government, nobody
Yeah.
in power that's a socialist.
Stagg runs the county commission right here, making laws and governing things. And he's a reputed communist and a pedophile. He's a minor
Those two things
attractive
don't necessarily
person.
go
But he's an
together, though.
elected official right here in this city, right here in Las Vegas.
And
And
he-
he is a reputed communist.
What's his name?
There are a lot of them. You think AOC is not a socialist? You think Pelosi's not a socialist,
Pelosi's
and
not a socialist.
she's a socialist.
She's the most capitalist person.
She thinks she's going to be in the
But
big boy
why does
club
she-
and part of
now
the
how-
elite
okay,
group.
I'm
When they
gonna-
take
hey,
this
I'll
shit
even-
over,
hey,
trust
I'll
me,
even-
she's going to
I'll
be the
even
first
go-
one to die of
hey,
lead poisoning.
I'll even go along with what you said. All right, she is a capitalist, but what is she using? She's using the tool of socialism to try to impose it on everyone else. So this way, why she can?
Name one thing socialist that she's tried to do.
So she's all right. Well, name one thing socialist she's trying to do.
Yeah.
You
Look
guys
at-
have the same
look at how-
definition of socialism.
I think that's where we're skewed.
Maybe.
I think a UK view.
Our view of socialism is different than yours.
It's different.
Socialism-
all right, so
your
let's-
right wing and left wing is different than ours too.
I think
These
there's
are
a disconnect.
definitions that maybe we need to establish.
So
but-
that might be what our disagreement is or misunderstanding of each other.
But when you say
now
Nancy's a socialist,
okay, now I didn't say she's a socialist. I believe, like you just said,
Rewind the tape.
that she is rewind the tape.
don't take it personally.
I said
I'm not
she
taking.
was a
She said he.
I'm
Randy
trying
said
to
it.
roll.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you this. I agree with you that she is one of the biggest capitalists. I believe that loads of people within the confines of government are capitalists and are out for their own individual. And again,
I
getting
don't
back
think
to
they're
what
capitalists. I think they're elitists.
they're elitists.
Yeah,
As a matter of
we'll
fact,
go
let's
with
go.
that. They use
Hey,
capitalism
they-
as their-
they-
Same
as a matter
problem-
of fact,
same
I'm
problem
sorry.
in my country.
I'm
Same
sorry. I'm
problem.
going to go with what Randy just said. I don't believe that they're capitalists and/or socialists. I believe they're elitists, and they're using both the tools of socialism to impose certain ideals on what they believe are lessers, and they're using the tool of capitalism to enhance their own wealth.
Yeah.
Their own wealth.
The challenge that I think America has. Here we go. This is going to be intellectually difficult because I'm a bit sharp. But
Four branches is good stuff.
4 branches.
Not good
Get-
for your
get you some.
articulation, maybe.
Yeah. The challenge that America has is that it is a corporate socialist country where it's inverse to actual socialism, where the companies and the corporates get all the benefits at the expense of the
There's
working
actually
people.
some very
and-
rich history and truth to what he's saying right now. We
and-
became a
and think-
corporation, like I said, after the Civil War.
Think about even
we were broke,
Hey, even
and
education.
they literally took us over.
All right, Randy brought up, talked earlier about the Rothschilds. All right, what do you think the Rockefellers did? All right, that's when organized school, all right, became a thing under him. Why? Because he didn't want an educated, he didn't want anybody truly educated. He, to be able to do anything. What he wanted was more workers.
Yeah.
He also pushed the agenda, the feminist agenda, to have women start working. You want to know why? Because again, he wanted more workers. It wasn't because it wasn't.
But
for-
how's
It's
it better
about
now-
equality.
But how's it better now that you're paying for the same thing?
in terms
So
of
you're saying like the socialist idea of free education was bad.
No, I
But
didn't
you
say
got
that.
what did you say about Rockefeller and education?
Because it's not free.
'Cause it's
Somebody's
not free.
paying
And
for
it is-
that.
and it's agenda.
but
And it's
the-
agenda driven. It's agenda driven.
I think there's a difference between free, because I know I talk about free healthcare, I talk about free education. It's
I'm
not
talking
free,
about
it's taxed, and people pay for it. But the difference is that it is provided at the point of purchase. It's provided free to the person that consumes it, and people should have a right to education. And you're
I
saying
think
the
everybody
Rockefeller-
does have a right to
And
education.
everybody has a right to
But
education.
doesn't mean they can afford it, but there's Pell Grants and there's lots of ways to get there. Lots of people. I got there.
And the thing is
People
this.
get there.
But how? All right,
I
look
could
at back.
I
Look
could
at
never have gone to university in America because my parents wouldn't have been able to pay for it, and we were.
And whose fault was
We
that?
were in the mid. Theirs probably because they're awful people.
Not your parents.
No,
Not your parents. Whose fault?
Oh.
is it? It's all right.
It's the
Because
government's
any
fault.
time, okay, and any time you have,
I'm too
all right,
clear.
if you think of it in terms, and again, let's and now since we broached the subject on it, I think of this. All right, and again, because I'm a Christian, because I believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
Right, God gave everybody free will. Right, all right, knowing that I could, and because in His infinite wisdom is like, hey, I know I could screw this. Me giving everybody free will could really screw things up, but I know that. But the fact is, just like within, if you break it down to government, all right, everybody has a choice to do the right thing or the wrong thing all the time. All right, every problem that we have, all right, in terms of gun problem, this problem, all right, is because someone allowed corruption to come into whatever thing it is. And who allowed that corruption? Whatever first person that did it. whatever first person that pushed an agenda to do the wrong thing. And again, that's why we tear, heroic people down. They tear heroic people down. They tear the ideal of, anybody who's liberated somebody. All right, because if I've liberated something, I've probably oppressed something else. All right, because there's always got to be some kind of balance.
Status quo.
Status quo of something along the lines of that. So if we went back to true freedom, where everybody had the right to do whatever they wanted, all right, and then we, in terms of, but had a goal of making everybody good all the time, because I'm not a big believer in pharmaceuticals. All right, you guys know, you don't know how I am. I don't take anything, and everything that I work to put into my body, all right, is always got to be something healthy. And if we went back to that ideal, all right, we wouldn't be even having a conversation on free health care right now, because we would be teaching people the right thing to do on
How to take
what
care
they
of their
take,
bodies, how to be
Because
healthy.
look at
How many
COVID
commercials
talking
did you
about-
see for
Right.
vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc during the COVID lockdowns? Not a damn one.
But is that
Then
because
nobody told me how to
there's no
boost
money
my
in it.
immune
is that not a
system.
direct result though of the
Corruption.
but it's a direct result of capitalism too, because the pharmaceutical
Now,
companies have the
And-
right to
and-
market
and-
their
and-
product and make as much
Yes.
money.
But it's also
and that's the double-edged sword of capitalism.
that's
But
a
it's-
double-edged sword.
I mean,
That's a double-edged sword of freedom. Now, having said that,
There is no double-edged sword in socialism, because historically every single socialist country ended up with mass genocide.
Right. No, but I'm just saying.
And
I'm
oppression.
bringing
Controlling
the
their
point. The
population.
reason we see so
Are there
many
bad
farmers-
capitalists? Absolutely, they're bad capitalists.
The
And that's
United
why-
Kingdom is a democratic
and-
socialist
and if
country,
you look
and there's
at-
no mass genocide there.
Okay, but look at the
But-
mass.
Or Norway, or Finland.
Let's
or
go
Sweden.
back to
I'm-
your
I'm
colonial
wanting-
days and
I'm-
how
I've
much
scored
mass
one.
genocide happened back then,
Pol Pot. That's
to
a-
include
mate, that was a
the
dictatorship.
colonials you sent here
That's a
to take the
dictatorship,
land away
not
from the Native
communist, not
Americans that
socialist.
lived here already.
But if you look at right now, all right, look at the largest.
I'm really enjoying
Look
this
at the
one.
largest companies. All right, look at the largest companies that we have right now.
Yeah.
All right, look at the largest companies we have. And I'm not even going to get into, the BlackRock, and I'm not even going to
Vanguard.
I'm not even going to talk about those two. But let's just look at the lesser ones as we go.
Can
up.
we talk about BlackRock?
Not yet.
I'd like to talk about BlackRock because
Listen.
you know who benefits
Yeah,
from
I got to
BlackRock.
get pretty quick here.
Do
Do you know who benefits from BlackRock?
Okay.
Anyone with a 401k.
Okay. And now having said that,
Anyone?
Yeah.
I don't think BlackRock benefited my 401k in
I was
one
about to say,
iota.
about to say I
They didn't
just
do
lost-
shit for my
I was about to say
401k.
I
Maybe
just
not
lost
anyone.
160.
I think BlackRock does anything for anybody's 401k that works for BlackRock or one of the companies that they own, because they own the
I've-
majority share of
In a lot of
most of the
companies.
pharmaceutical companies, most of the media companies.
I doubt there's any
Most of
companies
the
in your portfolio
politicians-
that don't have. I doubt there's any companies in your 401k
But now-
that don't have an investment from BlackRock.
Okay, but now having getting
I'm not
back,
really in the market, but there might be some in there. Maybe. I'd have to dig into that. But
now getting back to what we were talking about earlier. Like I said, all right, the
I don't
Googles.
know why that was important. I'm sorry.
You went on. You really went on a tangent on that one. I was like, that has nothing to do with what I'm about to say.
I think the point with that is that people care about BlackRock and them being bad people in America.
I think only people like us care about that.
But
I think
no.
other people are blind to it. And
But I think it's one of the fundamental challenges with America, right? And I'm going to come back. I'm going to go on a real tangent in a second about clothing, and I will let you make your point. But people care about the people who care about BlackRock care about it in this country until it affects their hip pocket. It's like people care about Made in America. Shirts made in America. Let's bring jobs back to America, but they want to go to Target and buy $3 fucking t-shirts made in Vietnam.
That's this next generation. Like, we need to get back to.
But it's an oxymoron for me
I-
with America, where it's like you want this kind of idealistic kind of
I don't
country.
think that's America, though. That's the world.
All right.
Because I was going to say because my ideal
Fuck, I'm going down
all
the toilet real fast.
My ideal world is that, and think about this, there was a time where I could just, and again getting back to way in the past history, I could just go decide, hey, I want to live on this plot of land, I'm going to go out, stake a claim, and then I'm going to live, work on this land. I may never even see another human being ever again.
No.
And then I'm gonna die, and I don't need money. I wouldn't have needed those things.
Mm-hmm.
We have become so civilized and so advanced that now all these things that intersect, because if we were to dissect every single country, like BlackRock, Vanguard, this one, that one, of course we would find things that intersect with bad things.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are, so, again, that tangled web that I talked about earlier, we're so ingrained and tied up in things. But if you look at the agendas of the Google, of these these corporate entities that are actually monopolies.
Go a little deeper than that. Go to the G8. Go to the WEF. WEF.
And
That's what I was about to say, because we are at, which is shocking, an hour and 13 minutes already, and I know you need to roll out here in a minute. I have a hard time convincing Dave that we're moving towards a one world government, and I think we're all in agreement here at this table that we are, and these two redheads
On that side of the table, yeah.
are not. So in our last 10, 15 minutes.
Fuck it. Like maybe America's. Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry,
Say
Courtney.
something so
Sorry,
my voice.
No,
It's your-
I think
it's
I
your-
think America is the last bastion of real freedom and,
Right.
and a Bill of Rights and a constitution that creates a constitutional republic. We're one of the last bastions of freedom, an example of what freedom could look like. And that's why these
entities.
one world government folks, the G8, Charles Schwab, Soros, all these guys, they want to see that unwound. They want to create a one world government.
And
they
the
want
thing is
UN
that-
to be the regulatory body of that. You don't see that?
I think you overestimate the ability of other countries to fucking do anything.
See, I don't think it's actually other
No.
countries.
I
think again,
It's a shame, but I think Germany is gone. France, as we knew, France is gone. Many of the places in Europe, because of this mass infiltration
and look at how many people
from the
in
Middle East, the culture
France-
that we
France
once
is
knew, and those things are gone. There are no-go zones. There are some no-go
Yeah.
zones in this country as well.
Yeah. And in England as well. But I think that the issue with a one world government for me is just
I think
I think the people that benefit from the current system, so the people you just listed, and I'll add Bill Gates and I'll add
those are the elitists.
you know,
And that doesn't mean that all
all
elitists
of
are
them.
bad, but
No, but they
I
are.
know plenty of very wealthy people that love to help people, and,
Yeah,
and again,
but
high tide to raise
the
those
people
ships.
like Bezos and all those, they're not.
They have,
I don't think they're the people.
They have an agenda.
They have their agenda.
But I
That they,
think-
They have
but
an
I
agenda.
and some of them,
You
their
can't
agenda, even
tune
if it's
in
a
and
personal
listen, you'll
agenda,
hear them articulate it. I
But
mean,
I
they
think-
articulate their agenda.
But
It's very
I think,
clear.
I think
You just have to.
the people with real power and real money that you list in and this is where I have an issue with the idea of a one world government, is what they benefit from is the status quo, not change. They don't benefit from a one world government. They benefit from
Yes,
us
they
as
do.
worker bees
Well, the thing is,
continuing to
but,
be.
But how?
But that's
But
exactly
that's
what
how
they
they.
want.
That's how they're
That's
doing
what
it
they've
because
got.
we're continuing to be
don't.
because we're
Bezos
continuing
has
to be
got everything.
We're continuing to be worker bees, and we are continuing to battle each other on these issues that mean nothing to them. Nothing to them because they're still pushing their agendas
power and control.
and power
Yeah.
and control because
That's all anything's about at the end of the day. isn't it?
Power and
and
control,
that's
in
the
my
thing.
opinion.
And what I wish, because we're running out, because you need to go, but what I wish is that the world could have this conversation, because I don't agree with
Well,
80% of what you say, and I know for a fact you don't agree with 100% of what I say.
no, I don't know about
But-
that, True. I
but
don't
I
think
would
that's true.
And I don't think, and I think your numbers are skewed. So it might be 50-50 that we don't, because
numbers are notoriously
because-
fucked.
because-
I'm making up to go around.
because the thing is this: we haven't even talked about what we truly care about. These are all, as a matter of fact, a lot of the topics that we're talking about are things that they have created for us to constantly debate
They're a
over.
bit abstract, and
Yeah.
that's what they
So-
want us is
because-
looking over here. Squirrel.
Yeah.
And in turn, that's where we're going with a lot of these things. And because when I hear somebody who is in a position of power say something along the lines of, "You'll own nothing, and you'll be happy for it."
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that
All
guy.
right.
Who's that?
Charles Schwab.
Klaus.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Head of the G8.
I mean,
German.
right now, because we've
German
become so
cat is
advanced.
head of the G8.
We've become so advanced that fantasy.
How many times do I have to hear Bill Gates say, "Hey, we can control the population. We'll do that through vaccination."
So,
Did you just say that out loud?
Charles Schwab is the head of the G8.
Yes, sir.
Is that an annual? Does that
They have meetings all the time.
No.
It's all the biggest bankers in the
That's
world.
the World
basically.
Economic Forum, right? The
Yes.
G8 is
G8 is
Isn't
an
that a
exclusive
meeting of the
group
leaders
of the World Economic Forum.
I thought the G8 was the leaders of the top 8 economies in the world. I thought that was like
and
all
who
about
and who
the same
and
thing.
who and who is on
Biden
that
and-
and who is and who's on that council? Who's who's on that council? Him. But now getting back to a whole bunch of, so look at how we're arguing, debating over these topics that we have no control over. And my thing is, what used to be great about America and it used to be great about the world is that you could individually go out and do whatever you wanted, and none of these things would affect you. But the thing is, now we're getting to a point where we've become so advanced, and fantasy movies or fictional movies, not fantasy, fictional movies are now coming true.
Who knew The Matrix was a documentary?
James Bond James Bond supervillains are living right now in this time. The movie Demolition Man. Currently, we are living in Demolition
we're
Man.
close.
All right, we are close to that.
Terminator's on its way. If AI has
and again, so the thing is, all these things that someone once thought of as fictional are now starting to come true. And now, is it one of those things to where that imagination of that guy has pushed us to that direction, or were we always destined to do that? And if you look at, Orwell, and you look at people in the past, as a matter of fact, on the other side, if you look at, I can't believe I just forgot his name, Saul Alinsky. The writings of him and the writings of Orwell are opposite in terms of what they wanted. Yeah. All right, but were prophetic in terms of what they said, because Saul Alinsky gave the playbook for how how he wanted things to go to push us towards where we are now, and they are all following it.
David Icke was talking about this in the mid '90s. Icke.
Yeah, I know. I did the same thing in 2011.
Tomato.
Court does that all the time. It's like, whatever. Icky
USA. USA.
So,
we took everything you guys had and we bastardized it. We took baseball took cricket and made baseball out of it. We took rugby. We took rugby and made American football out of it. We call we call what you call football soccer. I mean, we just took everything you guys had and we drive on the other side of the damn road.
Game over.
Is that our fucking cue to wrap up, I guess?
See, now we're taking a break and shit. We gotta go.
But the ideal of as a matter of fact, we didn't even go on really the topic of the United States and England. We actually confronted the one world order coming after us, and world control.
But I see that as a trifecta, and I think
but
we have in many ways become the law enforcement for the world.
Yep.
They use the Americans and the American soldiers as law enforcement of the world. The central banking and all the banking comes out of the UK. And the supposed religious and spiritual side of this trifecta is the Vatican. And,
I don't want to get into that whole
right.
But
the
thing is,
nor do I. But tell me I'm wrong.
Because you'd miss the 15 minutes that you got left. We'd be on that and longer. We'd end up being here till 11 o'clock.
Until tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We'd be here till next week probably. Until we fell asleep.
And honestly,
but the thing is,
almost any segment of this whole discussion, we could do a deep dive and be here for a long time talking about a lot because it's very complex.
We haven't even got into the demasculization, of men, and taking away.
Toxic masculinity. Oh my God!
All right, call me Chernobyl then. All right, because the thing is, all right, all the ideals of what a good man is has become corrupt. They, the things that they focus on, right? They take away all the things of honor.
In many ways, they're kicking women in the wedge too, with all this other stuff that's going on too.
And I mean, think about this. And again,
giving awards to transgendered men now that used to specifically go towards
which
women.
boggles the mind how they were able to manipulate.
How is that?
How they were able to manipulate that agenda to the feminist agenda and link them together to where now loads of women who want women's rights are now advocating for a man to take their right away.
But who did that? Who did that though? I mean, like we're on a tangent, but who? When you say they did it, who did it? It wasn't women. It wasn't
women. That's what I'm saying.
But
and who are they? Whenever we say they, who is they in anything? We don't. We are so far down. We are so far down.
There are some people in power,
Yeah.
and not just in this country, but around the globe, that want to keep us as divided as they can keep us. They don't want us having conversations like this. They don't want us finding compromise and common ground. They definitely don't want us smart. They don't want us healthy because they can't make money off us that way. And if we had, why did we wear a mask for over 2 years? I don't think they wanted us talking.
And now
staying
even,
6 feet apart from each other. I don't think they wanted us talking
and
about
even when-
the bullshit, frankly, that
right
was
now,
going on at the time.
New York
And I
Times
think-
just reported how all of that was wrong, that the masks didn't work. But how many people still believe? And how many people are you
How many
still
people are
seeing
still wearing them to
them
this
in the car
day?
by themselves? In the car by themselves.
Okay, I know we're going to wrap up because you had me, and then you had to get me on masks, didn't you? Because I'm like, as an English person, I was quite happy to stay 6 feet away from everybody else.
That was because you're antisocial. That's not because it was doing any good.
No, I was just quite happy with it.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on with the dental system in your country?
Oh, fuck off.
That's why he likes masks. That's why he
Sorry,
likes masks.
that was low-hanging
Hey,
fruit.
and that's why
I'm
he likes the
sorry.
masks, to hide
I
his teeth.
apologize.
As somebody once said to me, it's like your teeth.
Was that socialized too? Because I mean, maybe I just need to go there.
Mate, if you looking at your choppers, mate, they're beautiful.
Hey, that's what
aren't
happens when your shit gets kicked out.
they? Yeah.
It gets nice and white and straight.
Yeah.
All you got to do is take a boot to the mouth.
It's kind of like the one thing that kills all my argument is like, if socialism works, why are your teeth so fucked? Really. But with masks, right? And this is like, because I don't care if they did work or they didn't. I was happy to wear a mask because I felt like it was the right thing to do for other people.
See,
and that's what.
See, that's where
I
they.
think
and
we
that's
were
how
all
they could,
freaked
and
out.
that's how they,
Initially,
and
we
that's
started
how-
seeing
and that's how
bodies
they-
falling on sidewalks
and
and
that's
flopping
how they
around
mani-
in
and that's how
China
they
and all that.
manipulated you, because
I
it's
think
already come out
I think
that
we were
it
all
didn't
freaked
do
out. But
any
then
good for
once the
anything.
dust
So
settled,
now-
started seeing real numbers.
now-
You start digging into Fauci and all the other bullshit that he's been involved with. He wrote his dissertation on the Spanish flu in 1912. The biggest detractor from that dissertation was that the mask caused more problems with bacterial pneumonia than the Spanish flu ever caused. In his dissertation, for crying out loud.
So now, getting
That
back.
was his dissertation.
It was about compliance. It wasn't about safety. That mask was developed so that your surgeon isn't drooling into the wound he just created when he fixes you. 0.008 microns is what that virus is. It goes right through that mask, just like my fart would go right through these
Right through your
underwear.
pants.
Yeah, but you're not wrong, Sal. You're clearly too fucking articulate. You need a little bit more of you.
That's what made him more articulate.
Yeah. Well, it's not working for me. But the thing is like when I wore a mask, I didn't get really like because
That's because of beliefs. Beliefs control everything. That's why
No,
you didn't get
I
sick.
wanted-
You're supposed to be neutral.
And
You're
then you
supposed
got,
to be fucking
and then you got
Switzerland.
vaccinated, and then you were fucking sick every other month. I rest my case.
No, I was sick every other month after I had the American vaccine, which I never wanted to have.
Right,
After I
so-
had my UK.
And who made you take that?
Nobody made me take it, but I wanted to go travelling and like
That's
whatever.
so you wanted to go traveling. So somebody imposed something. So they tried to restrict your. They tried to restrict.
Oh,
So because I can't let you make the point because
you're
that
American.
point. That point.
I think we just cut to the root of this whole thing right there.
That point wouldn't need to be made.
We're
if
doing
you-
this because I want to make a point.
I know, but that point wouldn't need to be made if you had freedom of movement. If they didn't make you comply to make you do something that you shouldn't have done.
It was about compliance, in my opinion. It was all about compliance.
Which I totally get, right? So
And they know which one of us are going to
you're,
comply and which one of us aren't now.
you're all right factually, but at the time,
No, at the time, I think a lot of us were scared initially, for sure.
But also, for me, it was kind of like there's a lot of studies that show they work. There's a lot of studies that show they don't.
Well, I didn't see a single one that showed
I
they
can
worked.
send you a few. There's actual papers with actual data that show that.
You
they
know,
have
the
a
actual
slight-
6 feet away was a junior high school kid's science project. That's where that
Yeah.
little bit of knowledge came from.
But for me, it was kind of like, well, if I wear it and it does work, and it does stop it spreading, and some old people don't get it.
You know what really pisses me off now? You get on airplanes now and they say, oh, we don't require anybody to wear a mask, but anybody that chooses to wear a mask, leave them alone, basically. I said, where were you when I didn't want to wear a mask? Because I knew it was bullshit.
And
you
remember
didn't
when,
leave me alone.
Hey, and remember when they weren't allowing you to, so they would go, somebody had to sit here on the plane.
That's freedom.
And that's, if you had freedom
That
of
was
movement.
scary the way you looked at me.
But I should be able to choose. And I get for the better good. I mean, that's what they laid on us. Oh, you need to do this because it's good for
That's why I
everybody.
got
It's good for the better.
vaccinated.
Yeah, and it's.
You got vaccinated because we were going to Greece.
Yeah,
on
and I
holiday.
needed to leave the country.
Because
Yeah.
we were so.
And
we were
then,
so
but again, that
wealthy
was
at that point.
how they made you comply.
Right.
That's how they limited.
But there were some people
We'll
like
talk
me
about
that
that
went.
after we get off the air.
that thought, well, maybe it does work, and it's still not. I mean, I've seen as many studies that show it works.
Are you talking
as
the
not.
Now,
mask?
having said that, in nature.
You talking about a mask?
Mask?
I hope you're
All
talking
right,
about a mask.
But
Mask.
so now,
Okay.
so now let's get back to the what I believe is the core issue with anything medical. All right, in nature, all right, the animal, like in regular nature, do the wolves, do the whales, do any of them get medication?
I thought you were going to say, do any of them wear masks? And I was like, mate, you need a glass of fucking 4 branches. is what you
So,
need.
so now, if nature survives without all these added things, in matter of fact, even with masks, does nature survive without masks?
But when we
Does nature survive without masks? Yes, or no?
Yes.
sort of,
Okay, now
Sort of.
because
I'm
and
pretty
now
sure
how-
those bats they drug into Wuhan didn't survive that shit.
but mate, you can't. When we had no medication and we just ate meat, we had a life expectancy of 32.
Okay, now.
So I
What-
said,
what's-
okay, so
Okay, we had a life expectancy of 32, but also, what else? What other things were going on? And are we truly? And again, getting back to, all right now they have a cure for cancer, but there is no what? There's no profit in cure. There's only profit in.
No, there's only profit in chemo.
And
meds and-
to
yeah.
constantly keep
Chemo's
things
a
going.
huge profitability margins there.
Yeah, because
Does it do
when
the
I
damn
when I
thing? Hell
because
no.
when
In
I
fact, it
treat you
kills more people
when
than
when
it
I
cures.
when I treat you, that's where
100%.
money comes from.
Yeah.
When I cure you,
Where's the
there's-
frequencies?
there's
Where's the spookies machines and the frequencies? We know
but I'm gonna say
these frequencies. Everything operates. This table is vibrating.
Can I say though that money that they make is in America?
Is
it?
this you trying to close out the argument with
Yeah,
the win?
because no, I can't win
No,
because
I-
there is
I-
no win.
There is
if,
no win.
If BlackRock and Vanguard owned most of pharmaceuticals,
But
those are out of the UK, brother.
BlackRock's an American company.
Nah, they're all
Yeah,
part of the
But
Rothschilds
they
and the
own all
Rockefellers.
American companies. That's the thing. It's like you can be based in
Yeah.
Because
Because
and why
we're-
and
American
and,
farmers-
and,
We're
why and
literally
why
this-
why
the
do they own
capitalist system
why
that
do they
America
own all the
created
American
is
companies?
the gravy
Because
train.
we have
And they're all
capitalism, you can
cashing
make
in
as much
on
money
us.
as you want.
And also what else? Because ingenuity and incentive and all these things to where people because where's all the best surgeons come from? Where all
England.
right?
There's
The
very
best
good-
surgeons
very
in the
good-
world are in England.
There's some
That's
very good
that's
surgeons.
incontrovertible.
Like a lot of the
Oxford.
best cancer surgeons, I know my uncle left America. He has all the money he needs, and he went to the UK to deal with his cancer because they had the
Yeah,
best.
I think
And
we
the best
used to
surgeons
set the
get
bar in a
one.
lot of things,
Well,
and I don't think we
that's
set the
and that's
bar
what I'm saying.
anymore.
Because at one time
Honestly,
we
I don't think
we set the bar for
anymore.
everything. Because why? Because people had the ability to use initiative. People had ability to be ingenuitive about things. But right now, no one wants any of that. Because if they did, I would like to think that. And you guys said you went to Greece, and that's why you guys took thing. And I was actually going to say something earlier. I wish we could go back to an educational system based on like Greek and Roman philosophers, where we just sat in a circle and learned from each other, and then did things more holistically than we're actually doing right now. Because again,
And that's where
A whole bunch of that stuff's been suppressed. They don't want. They don't want the homeopathic remedies.
I know
Why did they suppress all the psychedelics? They were doing studies up to those on all of those up to 1958, and they realized they would have no way to cash in on that. So they not only did they stop doing the studies on them, they trashed all the results from those studies.
Yeah.
And now they're back to doing studies on the psychedelics again, and people don't need all these antidepressants and all this other stuff. They just need to rewire their brain, and guess how you do that? You use a psychedelic appropriately with a shaman or somebody to direct that.
Well, and if you also look at, like, during the 90s, all right, at one point, and again, we veered from it because there was no money to be made. All right, right now, do we have any true long-term mental institutions?
We stopped doing that in the 80s, and
No,
now
no,
and that
it was the 90s.
under Reagan.
It was the 90s. It was when that's. But it
It
was
was
the
under
90s
Reagan.
when, it was
Reagan
the
was the
90s
one
when,
that signed the bill that got
Yeah,
did
but it
away
was
with
during
all
the
this
90s
stuff.
Same with
when that's
Thatcher and
hey,
same with
yeah,
Thatcher.
And I think we
and-
started
and-
seeing the
yes,
repercussions
you
of it
started
in the
seeing-
90s.
because
And
what
that
what
was the
happened-
homeless population,
that's
because
what I
now
was about
nobody's
to
going
say.
to
'Cause what happened during then? That's because during that time when we had people confined, all the medications that were curing people, and when we had a population that was confined to where we can start learning how to adjust medications geared towards whatever the ailment was, they eliminated. Because why? Because they needed to steer everything toward. And when I say they, who are they? We don't know.
Right.
It's just because there's so many different agendas that
But it
sometimes
was
they
also
align.
that was also a philosophical thing about.
We don't-
Because it was
just-
Reagan and Thatcher that did the same thing in both the US and the UK at the same time, which was effectively the government has no responsibility to care for these people.
Yes, and I get that. And at the same time, the other thing is, it's also not a crime. It's not a crime to be insane, but at the same time, it's a crime not to take care of the insane. Because if you look at what and again, agendas don't. Sometimes, even though they have separate agendas, a lot of times things align to where it has caused this divisiveness that we have now, and so because we're in such a complex, such a complex world.
They picked the easy scabs.
Yep.
What was the easy scab in Yugoslavia? Religion.
Yeah.
You had Muslims and Christians living in the same space. So that's the scab you're going to pick to get those two people to fight each other and divide that country. What are they picking here? Picking slavery. Now they're adding all this gender stuff and all this other stuff on top of that to keep us divided. And as long as we stay divided, they have a very good chance of controlling
and then
us.
they're dividing, and then even within groups that possibly used to support each other in certain things, now they're even dividing those groups into subgroups
Right,
and
like
subcategories.
families.
I have trans friends that are like, "What is this? Like, I'm not trans enough for you people? What the?" Or even gay friends that are like, "Man, we're just not gay enough."
Right.
They trash us just like they trash everybody else because
Martina
we're not.
Navratilova is now an enemy.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's
I mean,
exactly.
how
That's
crazy
exactly
is that?
And,
That blows
and,
my
and,
mind.
and,
Like, she's
and
done
again,
more
think,
for the
and think
LGBTQ.
about like every single thing that we've talked about today has had some type of
Take
other,
Serena Williams
other
to step
divisive,
up and say, "No,
divisive
this isn't
nature
right."
put towards what separation of us to continually do that.
As long as they can keep us bickering and fighting about that, they can keep doing all this other shit up here. That at the end of the day, at some point, it's going to be too late.
And all the days are different days. It's
gonna be
all
too
different
late. There's
days
no
for
coming
whatever
back.
agenda
and
thing
we're
they
very
want to put.
quickly approaching that
It,
tipping point.
it just
in my
and it
opinion,
just
if
so
we
happens that it
haven't gone
coincides
past
to
it.
where like because there's no one agenda. There's multiple agendas, but the thing is, a lot of times those agendas converge and then when they happen to coincide with each other, and that's kind of where we're at, now.
Power and control is
Power and control is what.
Yeah, think about it. Growing up in the UK, I'd been a rugby player.
I feel like we're gonna need part two.
I've already got the ears. Hell, I go to Australia, they're like, League or Union? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
League, for sure.
Union's just drunk farmers on.
That sounds
Look
like
at
fun.
look at how they turned you against farmers right now.
You guys, you did excellent. I'm so proud of you. And shout out once again to Four Branches because I could smell it and I had to take my shirt off. So that's saying something.
Now, but what was the reason?
Well, I appreciate you putting it on there and,
Oh,
and helping us
100%.
promote that. That's really
100%.
cool. And the guys will be ecstatic. I text them all today. Said,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, going on this podcast tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Where can I find it?" That's why I was asking you.
Right.
As a
Where
matter of
can-
fact,
where can you find it?
All right, earlier you asked.
Oh, Four Branches?
Yeah.
FourBranches.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
we'll
are
put-
they in any liquor stores in Vegas?
I think
here in
right
Vegas?
now, I mean, we literally just launched 2 months ago, month and a half ago, and so I think you have to go to that website. I don't think we're expanded far enough to be in all the liquor stores and restaurants and all that stuff yet. That's rolling out slowly
2
as
months,
we go.
it's- yeah.
But we literally just launched, and so you have to go to the website, and they'll literally drop ship it to you.
It's a legitimately
Just like that 1907.
Yeah.
legitimately. It's legitimately good.
Hey,
right?
also earlier you asked me because when I came in, all right, behind the scenes when I walked in, Kortney said, "Sal, you smell good, this, that, the other thing." To give you a heads up, the cologne that I was using is a bourbon-based cologne. So
Stab a little Four Branches underneath you.
so now I know. So now that stuff that I was spending all that money on, I
Right.
I get a whole bottle.
Yeah.
Slap that on there right now.
It's right up there with putting a taco in your
Yeah, that's
armpit.
it.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for
Yeah.
everything you lost.
See, I don't feel that I
Love
lost because what makes us still the greatest is that I could keep saying these things over and over until I can't, like England, where they're gonna eventually try to make this hate speech. All right.
Yep.
So hence.
Listen, we're gonna circle back around.
We
Yeah.
know, we
circle
know
back
you
around.
have clear definitions of hate speech. We're just poking you a little.
No, this
Not
is,
in a fun way.
Not in that way
gosh.
at all.
That was a pleasure, fellas.
we have to do a round
Appreciate you
two
too.
because I feel like this tipping point, I agree with you 110%, is coming up, and we need to. I don't know what we need to do. but
Well, I
Maybe
actually
our tools
thank
are
you,
different.
Court, for putting us on and having a podcast like this, because the more times we get to talk about this and open some people's eyes,
100%.
the more chance we have to build a resistance and to not fall into the historical traps that we've seen happen in the past. So,
United we stand, divided we fall.
absolutely correct.
So, thank you for joining us on this episode of Quadcast, bitches, and we will see you next week. Over and out.